Imagine like constantly watching him in every video. He's like, "Oh, I'll take these guys on in a debate on every topic: science, physics, metaphysics, religion." But where the
And
debate videos
you
at,
can't even
bud?
debate his parrot.
Where's
You
his
can't
He
even
debate
makes
debate his
no
videos at?
parrot.
mathematical. He makes no mathematical predictions, which means if you do actually have to produce a working, functional thing, if you have to produce a cathode ray gun,
Hundred
you'd have no
percent,
way to
100%
mathematically
wrong.
figure out. You'd have no way to figure out what materials you could use.
100% wrong. Spoken from ignorance. 100% wrong.
Okay, go ahead. Can you show me? Can
I
you show
already
me
told you.
anything?
I
Can you
have
show me
already told
anything?
you. This is Cogdis kicking in once again. I mean, we keep having, it seems, repeated conversations where you like to just completely brainwipe yourself, come back in a few days later, and ask the same repetitive question when I've already pointed you to a 20-page mathematical equation coming by your way of yours truly, Charles Proteus Steinmetz, in his book Impulse, Waves, and Currents on Electromagnetic Induction. And you want to just completely act as if that never happened. It's kind of funny.
I never said anything
And we
about
got many
Steinmetz. Like,
other. If you want math,
I want
bro, if
anything
you want math,
mathematical. I want a formula that Ken Wheeler himself has produced, not one that he's
if
maybe regurgitated from somebody that actually contributed to the field. Is there
you're
any?
asking,
Can you show me
you're
one
moving the goalpost.
equation? Can you show me one equation that Ken Wheeler produced with
He
his
Yes, I
does.
can.
superior fundamental?
Yes, I can.
He does have some
Yes, I can.
predictions on videos. Like he does have some predictions, but he doesn't tout himself to be a prophet or like he doesn't tout himself to be that.
Bro, I
But
could
yeah, he
bury you
does.
in
He
math,
does have some
Jake.
things like
So it's funny how like you want to act as if there's nothing there for you, but dude, I could bury you in
I want to
fucking
see a
math.
machine. I want to see a machine. I want to see how it works.
Yeah, you guys already have all these fucking fantastical things that you want. Like Cole's, doesn't want to hear what's being said. Jake acts like the thing's never been said, and fucking Larry or Left Lane wants a turbo encabulator that he can travel back in time to his hippie days. I mean,
Yeah, somebody can use.
you, you guys got some like crazy expectations for like the unwillingness to put forth any effort from your own,
Oh, if
you
something's
know.
real, you can use it in the real world.
Yeah, you're using it right now, kid. What do you want? What do you want?
But
The entire
everything you're
Yeah,
electrical
using is
yeah,
grid.
we're
based
using
on
quantum
there's
mechanics.
nothing but
That is
No,
usage.
you're
right.
not. No, you're not.
Just because
Quantum
your
mechanics didn't give
smartphone
you electricity. Sorry.
just because smartphones in the
What a
early
response.
2000s are so-called claimed to be using quantum tunneling in one component of that doesn't mean that that's
What do you
how
mean
it's
in the early
smartphones.
2000s? We're talking about now, modern day, not early
Sorry,
2000s.
sorry, sorry.
Now.
2020. So okay, sorry. Early 2020s. I misspoke. Okay. Just because smartphones are claimed to be using quantum tunneling in their recent designs for the past decade doesn't mean you need that technology to have a smartphone. We all owned phones
Nobody's
and
saying that.
batteries
That's a complete
and
non
computers that
sequitur
didn't use that.
whatsoever. Apparently, you just walked in the door. What Dieslow said was quantum mechanics isn't real, and uh, that, and when I told him that there are people on the planet that is using quantum mechanics, specifically quantum tunneling, which is part of quantum mechanics, to build actual devices that we use right now today that you're using right now.
Let's
He
make a
says no,
distinction
that
here
quantum
because
mechanics
you're
isn't real.
strongmanning me again. You're
Now,
strongmanning me
that's
once again.
exactly what happened.
I mean, you seem to have a repetitive, like, I don't know, thing with this where you just bastardize what I say. What I said, right, was that quantum doesn't exist. Quantum mechanics is literally a framework to apply the thing that doesn't actually exist into reality that you're trying to attribute as being some
Here,
sort
I'll
of
go back
like
and pull it up where you
fruitful
said
thing.
quantum mechanics isn't real. Hold on. I'll pull it up and let
No, no,
everybody
no,
hear it.
no. It's not what I said. I said quantum mechanics, they're
No, you did
mathematics.
say it
Their
like 8
mathematics.
times.
So their mathematics is 100% accurate. What I said. I said quantum, there is no such thing in the universe you can point to show me quantum because quantum isn't a thing. That's what I said. There, you don't have
Quantum is a
quantum
measurement.
foam.
Quantum is a
You don't
measurement.
you
have,
could believe
yeah, it's a
that.
measure.
Well, see, we're
It's an
going full
amount.
circle again, bud.
Gatebreaker was here. He heard it.
Now we gotta go full
Listen to
circle
Left
again,
Lane. Why don't you let Left Lane tell you,
dude.
Gatebreaker?
Wow. I mean, at the end of the day, Dieslow, like you nor Ken Wheeler can walk the walk and talk the talk. You might walk the walk. Excuse me. You might talk the talk, and it might be the true model. It might actually be more true than the mainstream one. But what you specifically fail to realize is this world runs on demonstration. It's not running on theory crafting. It runs on demonstration.
I mean, okay, Pontius Pilate.
You're trying to force your way through arrogance, precisely, in a debate where one side has demonstrated, and you're trying to like pretend like you've also demonstrated, or you know, not you particularly, because why can't you
like
admit that? Why can't you just admit that?
If Jesus Christ was literally the Son of God,
Jesus, why can't you just admit that?
If Jesus Christ was literally the Son of God, like you would have been the guy flogging him up the fucking hill, dude, to hang him on the cross, bro.
So
while simultaneously going, I don't know if you are the Son of God, but maybe you are, maybe you aren't.
No,
I don't know. I'm just gonna ride the fence.
No,
that's what you're doing. You're trying to take this position where you fall on neither side, like you're trying to ride the fence rail.
So Gio, this is what happens if I don't overspeak. I could have nipped him in the butt 15 seconds ago, but like if one were to not overspeak, this is what happens: is delusion compounds and snowballs into further delusion. And then 15 seconds later, not having interrupted him, I'm now having to, I don't have to, obviously, but most would have to go back and
ramble.
That hey, Dieslow, you've got nothing. Ken Wheeler's got nothing. What Ken Wheeler serves as you watching him, practically, it serves as a bolstering to your ego, running your mouth on these discords. He may be talking about the truth, but you're not building and working on the truth. You're running your mouth, pretending that you're literally delusionally, you're so deluded, are trying to overcome the greatest mainstream demonstrable science, CERN, TCMC. I've already said it. You're trying to delude it. You are deluded.
You're literally sitting on the fence post. All right, we listen to you rant. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. We listen to you cry.
Yeah, hey, guess what? Fuck everything else you got to say here on forth. Go ahead.
It's my turn. Now it's my turn.
Fuck your turn.
You're sitting on the fence post, pointing the finger and criticizing.
You've got nothing.
While choosing not to be on either side of the argument. Do you agree that
you've got nothing?
You literally. This is projection.
Do you
agree
that you've got nothing?
This is the quintessential.
You have nothing on TCM.
This is the quintessential
or whatever the fuck it's called.
All right, hold on? Can you guys just instantly reset from like interruptions?
Don't put me in this, Gio.
All right. Well, I don't know.
Don't put me in the mix.
Well,
I sat and listened to him cry. Then he stopped. Then it was my turn. Then he overtalked me.
Deluded person
like he's doing again. But don't involve me in this, bro.
Okay. Well, Gatebreaker, your turn is finished. Could you please go on mute and let him
respond? We could do that, Gio, but we're going full circle again.
Okay, it's his turn. Could you please go on mute?
Gio, who do you agree with more? Do you agree with Dieslow's point and position more, or my position? Which one?
I was doing something. I literally popped in 5 seconds ago and just heard the chaos. Could you just go on mute and let him speak?
You don't know. You're moderating, but you don't know whose point or position that you would agree with.
Go ahead, Dieslow. Yeah, I'm just moderating for one at a time because it sounds like audio chaos.
I just might as well wait till he's got a muzzle on.
Hey,
Can you please go on mute, Gatebreaker?
I'm going to try to destroy you on this argument. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Dieslow.
Is it safe? Okay. So he doesn't have a position. And he tried to put you in some weird dichotomy here, but
is that by the rules?
Yeah,
straw man.
Once again,
straw man. The very first sentence out of his mouth was a straw man. Is that a tactic, Dieslow? To do that, to misrepresent me or my position?
You have no position. You're riding the fence pole while unwilling to be on either side of the argument.
Straw man. I do have a position.
He just comes to
straw
ruin.
Man. I mean, we're allowed.
He just
to
comes
do
to
that,
ruin
right?
the discussion.
Call out
Can we do
when it occurs? Is that okay?
Can we do a poll? Can we do a poll on the chat and vote to mute him?
We've been
for like
talking
2
on
hours.
the same topic for 2 hours now.
The guy's just screaming.
That's a straw man, right?
The guy's just screaming and just like flailing, dude. You got no.
I mean,
since we're not going to
completely right.
on this topic, you've got nothing. You're a liar. Ken Wheeler can't save you. You've got a belief system. Surely it's all in your mind. Surely you don't have
feelings.
Okay, we don't have to continually attack Dieslow, man. Okay, he's left. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear he's just trying to ruin the conversation from the moment he came in here.
I mean, when you come in saying you could be right, but maybe you aren't, but maybe you are, but maybe the other. I mean, you clearly don't have a position on the topic. You know, you're refusing to step foot on either side of the convo at the table and just like trying to critique everything. Like that's not that's not an honest position to have, dude. I'm sorry. It's okay to be on the fence. It's okay to be on the fence, but when you want to like subjugate and like ridicule and put down one position while not having a position of your own, like, or even being able to steel man the position that somebody has, like, it's not an honest position to have, man. So
Hey,
I don't
so
know.
can you list one or a couple of the predictions that Ken Wheeler has made?
Dude, I don't need to deal with you and Jake, bro. You guys have already shown yourselves to be dishonest in conversation.
I just asked one. All I asked is one question. Can you
Or
name
you
one
can
or
go
two
look them up,
predictions?
dude.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go
Thanks.
look them up, figure it out. I'm not here to sway you in any way, bud.
Well, I'm curious, Wesley. Do you believe in quantum tunneling is a real phenomenon? I'm still looking into it, but what are your thoughts as an electrician and engineer?
Yeah. On all accounts, it appears to be real. They've made predictions and they've seen it occur. So, from that perspective, yeah. I mean, so I've listened to a lot of Ken Wheeler stuff, and I am an electrical engineer. And to be honest, most of the stuff I hear from him is bunk. And he has yet to make any predictions that I've seen that would, put him in the right place, like other quantum physicists have. So that's my only ask is if he has one, please just post it in chat. I want to look at it.
A lot of these guys that I hear like try to deny Ken Wheeler and put him down and say he's bunk have never probably sat through an entire video or discerned what was said in the video. They just automatically assume because others said something. But I guarantee if
No,
he
I
was
said
put to the
three.
test, guarantee if
I
he
said
was put to
three.
the test, he couldn't steel man Ken's position probably on a single thing.
Right, because he makes no prediction, so he's not valid scientifically. He is bunk. So unless
He's
because
made
I have
many
said through.
predictions.
Okay,
He's
which
made
ones?
many
Can you tell
predictions.
me
He's
like his
proved many
best one?
things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
name one.
the most recent one that we were referring to a couple days ago was his prediction upon what a black hole would look like if we ever got a visual representation, i.e., a photo of a black hole. This is what it would look like. He showed it. He showed explained what it is that we were looking at years before they ever came out with an image. And by God, it was identical to what he said. So
Do you
I
have
mean,
that?
that's just
Yeah. Do you
one
have
of
that
the many
video?
things.
Do you have that video?
You
Because I would
posted it.
really like to
I
see it.
posted it in here. I
Okay,
mean, if you really want, I can
I'll
do it
look it up.
again,
I'll
but
look it up.
I
No,
highly
I'll
doubt
look
it's
it
going
up
to
if you
change your
posted it.
position.
Well, yeah, because the electric stuff that he talks about is completely. It doesn't make any sense. I guess is what I'll
He
say.
predicted. What else did he predict? He predicted that energy and matter, or sorry, light and matter are interchangeable. Basically, that was proven in a university a couple years ago, and he predicted that like years in the making, like prior to, and they proved
How
that.
are light and
Um,
matter interchangeable? How are light and matter interchangeable?
uh, well, basically, you can reverse Einstein's equation, and essentially, what they did was took two ultra high powered lasers and pointed them at one another, and at the intersection, a small amount of matter was generated, showing that
Okay.
light
E
and
equals
matter
MC
are interchangeable.
Yeah.
E
No,
equals
I get
MC
the E
squared
equals.
should get you thinking along those lines in the first place.
No, I agree with that.
And then also the concept of annihilation of matter results only in photons. If matter can be destroyed, it basically just explodes into light, called an annihilation. It's theoretical, I believe. But that's exactly also what they describe happens when antimatter would touch matter of the same sort. The result is
It's not
just
theoretical. It's not theoretical. CERN did it.
I think it is, but to each his own.
Well, CERN did it. So I mean,
The point is he predicted all of this to high levels of accuracy long before it was ever provable. And he's done this. He's done this with many things. And he did it with weight. He showed that there's actually 7 variables associated with weight, and the 7th he held on to until he put his book out. But the point is mean, this isn't the first
Oh, that would
thing.
be awesome.
I know you want to act
Did
like the
he do?
guy's.
Did he do one where how does he think weight occurs?
Well,
What
again,
causes
I'm not
weight?
gonna try. I'm not gonna try to crunch a fucking, you know, 2 hour
So
lecture
you
into
can't
a
explain
fucking
like a
2 second.
you can't
Yes, I
explain
can,
a
dude.
simple. Okay, what is it?
Yes, I
What
can.
causes weight? What causes weight?
Weight has many variables associated with it. Weight isn't a thing itself. It's not a force. It's the antithesis of a force, right? And the variables associated with weight is location, mass, magnitude, medium, vector, and then there's two others that he's going to get into, which would be a long, complex conversation. But the fact of the matter is you can change the weight of an object due to these variables, which should tell you that weight isn't a thing, right? F equals ma could easily be deduced down into another formula that would be way more accurate, which Ken
What
did
is that?
in his videos.
Yeah, because there's other forces,
Um,
like you said, medium.
it was weight equals mass 1 times mass 2 divided by distance squared times vector squared, is where I left off
Okay, so
last.
he believes then that you have to have two masses in order to have weight. Is that
Well,
accurate?
I mean, yeah, he's talking about mass 1, mass 2, right?
Yep. So that's why I
Um,
said two masses, right?
yeah.
So he believes you have to have two masses in order to have weight, correct?
Well, it's the relative
I'm not sure that's fair
relationship
to assume.
between the
Well, he said
two.
mass one
The-
times mass two. So if either of them are
It's it's
zero,
it's the
then that
it's
would
the
be a zero.
relative
Wait.
it's the relative relationship between the two, but not
Okay.
necessarily between the two, but between the null point between the two, which is where we get into geomagnetic precession, and then we start getting into force vectors and force
Okay. So
coherency. Force coherency, right, or field coherency, more accurate, um, versus something that is incoherent, right?
yep.
And this is where we
Okay.
start getting into what
You're
gravity
going a
is and what
lot
gravity
deeper.
isn't.
Right.
Well, you want
So
me to explain it and you're challenging me, so I'm just telling you I can take this very deep if you really want to take it there, but I don't want to try to
no, I know
cram
you're
a
smart,
2 hour
Dieslow. You don't need to.
conversation into
You
2
don't need
minutes.
to prove to us that you're smart. We know you're smart because you know this stuff. So the question again is, you would need two masses. So he does he not believe in outer space in the orbits of the planets or no? From what I
Don't
remember,
don't
he
combine
does.
don't combine
And
those two in the way that you would assume both of those mean, because when you just say the word space, Ken Wheeler does not believe space is what you think it is, even though he may agree that there's bodies of matter flying around in a similar
Orbit, yeah,
fashion.
orbiting. Yep, that's what
But
I
he
know.
doesn't
No,
even
I know.
but he doesn't even believe space means the same thing as you think
I
space
agree.
means. So that's why I'm saying,
I agree.
don't use two words at once like that.
But he does believe we can go there. We can go to outer space.
That bird's got to fly.
So,
Let's ask him. Let's ask him,
well, yeah, but in order to have, Dieslow said it, mass one times mass two, which sounds very familiar to another one, but I'll go with it. That means you have to have two masses in order to have weight, which also is apparent in gravity as well. But in his model, he also believes that two masses are acting upon each other in some fashion, maybe not directly, which I'll grant, but he believes that the planets are orbiting because due in part to their mass.
In
well, you got to
part,
understand what's being said. It's
heavy
not
lifting.
mass accelerating. It's not mass accelerating towards another mass. This is where science kind of falls off and he kind of picks up and runs further with it. He's claiming that mass accelerates to a null point between the two said objects. And you could see this phenomena if you ever see two stars at high speeds come within close proximity of one another, like they pass by one another. What happens is they'll pass by one another and start to spin and precess around each other, and so they eventually come together and touch, and they touch at this null point, which gets into a whole nother discussion. But the
Yeah,
point
I
is
don't really
this.
want to go. You're smart. I know that you don't need to teach us this. I don't want to go that deep. I just want to understand the basics. So I hear what you're saying. So he's obviously believes that we can see in nature masses seemingly attracting masses, maybe due to another reason. And so
Well,
he believes in the
hold on. I
orbits.
mean, so mass attracting mass is actually a misnomer, and magnetic attraction's a misnomer. Like when you start using terms like attraction, like from the mainstream conception of it, right? Like they give like
Did he drop out, or is it me?
He dropped out. He'll be back. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
and
yeah, fine.
I dropped out.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead and start again in the past
So
five
they kind
seconds.
of they when they start talking about attraction, be it magnetic attraction or mass attracting or gravity, like they're kind of anthropomorphizing the term attraction. It's kind of
I
a
agree.
loosely vague,
I agree.
ambiguously described mechanic. But what you're really getting there, because it's a misnomer, there he doesn't
I
even
agree,
believe that there
Dieslow. You
is
don't
such
need
a
to.
thing.
We don't need to talk about it. I agree. I agree 100%. It is a misnomer. It's just it helps our minds understand what's going on. I completely agree with you and with if Ken, if that's his point. But the thing is that in his force calculation, he does have mass one times mass two. So the force is based off of two masses. And so if you don't have mass, then you don't have the quote unquote attracting force, which is a little bit outside of what a lot of flat earthers believe. So that's what I'm trying to get at. Like I just wanted to understand that from your position. It is outside the norm of some flat earthers. That's all I would say.
It's not something that can be just spoken to you clearly because Ken Willer's use of words, words that you're familiar with, have a different definition. So,
Yeah, that's why his
if I
math,
were to,
that's why his calculation is really important. If it includes mass one times mass two, then I can understand that. You and I can both understand that. So,
right, but
yep.
if I just say this, like basically like a amalgamation of a Ken Wheeler quote, what's happening is on a planetary scale, incoherent dielectric acceleration happening within the shadow of magnetism, which you might refer to as space. It's like, like that. There's a whole conversation. There's maybe a one-on-one. Hey, let's go over here for an hour and redefine some terms or explain some terms in an alternative matter before we can even just speak clearly to you about this way of discussing things using similar terms but with different definitions.
Yeah, and that's why his formulas are more valuable to me than any word that can be used because that that makes exact calculations, and so I can understand that, and I don't need the rest of it explained to me. Just on the basic understanding of
Those
what we're talking about.
those equations are going to operate within a different arena than you without
Outside of
knowing
math,
like no, they
okay.
operate in reality inside of a different arena. Like I was telling you, your idea of space isn't Ken Wheeler's idea of
I know.
space,
I
even
understand.
though
I
yeah,
understand. You don't need to explain this to me. I've seen his 3 videos about the electric universe. Oh, I've only seen 3. Sorry, let me just put it that way. So I completely agree with you. But that's why I'm asking about his formulas because those speak a lot more in science than just word descriptions. Because you're right, we can have different ideas of what those words mean. So I totally get it. He doesn't have the same idea of what space is, and I'll grant that. It's fine. I just
Yeah, I
find it
mean
odd because most people wouldn't agree. Sorry, a lot of flat earthers wouldn't agree of having a force calculation with mass one times mass two. So that's why that's interesting to me. So I'll have to look into it further.
well, one term that must be defined, or two, I guess, would be like dielectricity and counter space. One of those not even being in your vocabulary, and the other one having been like the quote I said earlier from Steinmetz. He already complained that the conversations and equations relevant to the dielectric field in his time were already being like misspoken about, and words were already being jumbled and not precise and as clear as he used them. He was complaining about his peers in like 1906 that already the definition in the textbooks have already gotten it wrong. And obviously Ken Wheeler is coming from a very similar place from where Steinmetz was coming from. So you're not going to find a Google search result definition that even defines dielectricity in the way it was originally coined, which is a real shame. You'll have to read his book, charges. I forget it's like 3 things, charges, impulses, and discharges, or whatever. That's where he mentions how jumbled up people's use of terms revolving around electricity have. That's where he expresses that complaint.
Well, yeah, because today they kind of conceive of dielectric as an insulator, and fundamentally how they perceived of it prior to the establishment of the electric field and its understanding prior to 1919 was was a primary field, right?
Exactly.
This is what was spoken of in terms of Torricelli, Bentley, Newton.
You trust all those? You trust all that history?
A long list of gentlemen, starting at Rene Descartes.
You trust that history?
We trust it by the fact
No,
that
I'm listening.
Everything we use is based on that.
I'm not here for the veracity of the story at hand, rather than the information that's being said. Okay.
You certainly are, because you're saying that it was usurped by the what the norm is right now. So you're saying that it was usurped, that these guys had it first. No, Dieslow said it before too, but I'm just wondering if he trusts that history, what's written down in our textbooks about those guys, or what people talk about those guys like Steinmetz and Tesla.
Whether or not these guys ever even existed or not is
okay
beyond my concern.
You seem to be concerned about it.
What's said is what I'm interested in.
Let Dazza finish answering. You did.
Yeah, I'm just saying what's said is what I'm interested in the logic within it, right? And how applicable it is, and the fact that these guys were, established and modernized what we're using today, and you got people that are taking all this for granted and standing on the backbones of these guys and patting themselves on the back, acting as if the cell phone
you are interested in
the computer, acting as if the cell phone and the computer is justification for a whole new methodology that usurps something that predecessed their whole innovations to begin with. It's called incredulous theft thievery. It's intellectual thievery.
So why did you deny that you didn't care about the history of it, and now you're literally going over it?
No. You were pigeonholing.
That's just called honesty, intellectual honesty, saying that he doesn't need to worship them as gods, that they're unfallible.
I never said that. If he trusted it, but he's now saying that it was usurped. So he does trust what happened, and he does care what happened, because he's obviously passionate about it, which I get. But why would you say the other?
I got you, dude. Is all you're doing.
No,
dude.
I'm not.
That's all you're doing.
You're double speaking.
No, I'm not.
I'm literally not.
You were trying to do me. What you were trying to do to me, dude, is get me to sign on to all these individuals. Like, whether or not fucking Socrates existed, dude, isn't my concern.
Okay, so then why are you worried
he was an
about
actual individual?
I understand.
I care about the message. I care about the message left behind, right? And the wisdom within it.
So you do care.
That you guys are denying.
See, you do care about the history. You're claiming that they were usurped. If you didn't care about the history, you just say, "Hey, you guys should pay attention to this."
I don't know,
but
bro.
Instead,
okay.
No,
you
hold
understand
on.
the
Stop.
point he's making? Does he have a point, Fundy?
Yes. You're double speaking.
It's just a very specific thing he wants to make you say, and it's not as big of a deal as he's trying to make it to be.
Because he said it before.
But the emotional level you're taking this to is unjustified, because whatever you're talking about isn't actually a big deal. Like this isn't a big point.
He wants,
every
he
time
wants
he
a
says
you
it,
were wrong and I was right point.
nope,
And if that's what you're
don't
looking
care.
for, you got it, dude. I'm gonna
No,
give you
There's
10
no
points
big
on the
deal.
board.
to
You
me.
got 10 points, bud.
It's weird to
There's
me
no
that
big
you
deal.
don't
There's
care
no big
about the
deal going
history.
on
Hold on,
here.
Fundy. I'm responding to him. It's weird that you've said this all along for at least the last 6 months that I've listened, that you care that it was usurped, like you have some vendetta against it. But now you're saying you don't care about the past. But then in the same sentence, you say you're upset that they usurped. They're standing on the shoulders of these guys. I mean, like, just pick a lane,
There's a
man.
better way to ask this. There's a better way to ask this. May I suggest an alternative
No,
way of asking or making your point?
I know. I don't want to make any more of a point of it. It's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, I gave him 10 points. He wanted the I got you, whatever it was. I mean,
Nope.
I hear a lot of people try to make crazy claims about Tesla being a whack job and marrying pigeons or some weird shit. I mean,
Yeah, and
regardless of
Einstein
that,
marrying his cousin. Yeah,
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 regardless
it's all
of that
there.
stuff,
Yep.
regardless of that stuff, it's not about the crazy little quirky things behind the individual, rather than the fruits of their labor that we can work with, and that's the part you're missing, dude. You want to hyper specify on and focus in on like some weird little niche quirky thing, rather than looking at the
Nope. I
brilliance they
discussed
gave
his
us.
formula.
And it's
I
sad.
discussed his formula, and then I discussed you caring so much that it got usurped. And I don't want to hear you ever say that Einstein married his cousin or something like that, because that would be completely hypocritical of what you just said.
Well, I only quote
That's
Tesla
right,
in
Dick.
saying that he was a crack job. What else did he refer to him as? Oh, in case you didn't know, Einstein means short stone in German, which is a derogatory term for calling somebody an idiot. But he calls him a puffy-haired,
A fuzzy-haired crackpot.
Fuzzy-haired crackpot. So I use that a lot when I refer to Einstein as a
You're
fuzzy-haired
repeating,
crackpot.
yeah, because Ken Wheeler said that. But Ken Wheeler doesn't dismiss.
Fuck
Ken
yeah,
Wheeler
bro.
acknowledges
That's a
the technology
that's a
and the
that's a
science.
Tesla quote.
He
That's a
only
Tesla quote that
talks about
someone
that.
else
It is a
mentioned.
Tesla quote.
Yeah, it's pathetic. I mean, you guys
Tesla
don't have
quote, bro.
anything, so no wonder you do it.
Well, you're making it about Ken Wheeler when it's a Tesla
I
quote.
know.
He's quoting Ken Wheeler.
No,
I'm
he's quoting
quoting
Tesla.
Ken Wheeler quoting
You heard
Tesla.
it from Ken Wheeler.
Regardless.
You heard it from Ken Wheeler.
Regardless. So what? So what? Listen, here's the thing that you guys fail to understand, right? Is that you've never created, invented, or discovered anything on your own, probably. Like, everything you know, it came from somebody else. But here you are trying to point down at me, right, for fucking regurgitating Ken's work and having a different position, which is just like, why don't you pull the log out of
Listen to
your
this
own eye
guy.
before you point
I
out
know,
the
I know.
speck in mine?
If you give him
It's
back
the-
the same energy, he'll cry about it. That's the funny
I
part.
know it's the narcissism. He just can't he can't
That's what you're
learn from
doing.
other people.
It's what you're doing. It's literally
Dieslow,
what you're
we were
doing
having
right
a good
now.
conversation about mass and the attraction, but you have this constant need to want to teach everybody. And that's good when you have something good, but I can't just discuss a couple points with you without you trying to go
Is this
down this long
important?
diatribe
I wasn't even
to
talking to
teach.
you. I mean, stop trying to play victim here in the cello, bro. You
I'm
can go to
not. I'm
somewhere
not
else
the
and do that.
victim.
I was responding to Gatebreaker, dude, and his allegations of Ken's quotes when it was
Okay, then I'll step
Tesla's,
out.
and the fact that I was quoting Ken, quoting Tesla, and the reason why that's justifiable, and he's got nothing to support that with because he's never created, invented, or discovered anything on his own. He just regurgitates other positions from other people, but bastardizes me and tries to hang me out to dry for doing the same.
Good one.
It's
Good
hubrism.
one, but
It's,
let us know when you've got something.
it's sad.
Anyone can just badmouth people. Good one.
It's sad. Take a
You're
position.
sad.
For crying out loud. Take a position.
Hey, is this the same Dieslow with all of his Ken Wheeler knowledge doesn't have a fucking map of the flat Earth? I mean, if you want to throw jabs at me, I'll throw jabs at you. You've got no map and no model, bud. Why are you
What do you
fancying
got?
yourself with these
What
deeper
do you
concepts?
got?
Let's start with the basics. Speed equals distance over time. You got a map of this bitch or not? You want to throw
Where's your
jabs?
model?
You want to? I'm not like you. I just throw jabs and then go quiet. Like you got a map, bud?
Where's your model?
I've got
Where's your
tons
map?
of them. We could do globe. We can do concave. Do you got one?
Exactly. This is
You don't
precisely
have
proving
one.
my point.
Hey, look, bro.
Precisely proving my point You didn't name one. You named multiple
that's
because
good,
you're
bud.
unwilling.
Dieslow,
You're
yeah.
unwilling to take the
I
position like
said
a
what I
coward.
said to Nathan Oakley. Keep role
That's
playing, bud.
coward.
You got this.
That's cowardistic, dude.
Do you agree with Ken Wheeler's belief of what the shape of the Earth is?
He's never really came out 100% on it, but what he did come out and say is that it's 100% not a globe. He's never said that the Earth is a globe. He's referred to the plane of inertia that supports the existence of all life, and held his hand flat.
Ken Wheeler verbally, repeatedly shares his disdain for flat Earth. He verbally disagrees with the flat Earth. He's got a plane of inertia. It's a field phenomena in his field model. Flat Earthers are the one that have like, oh look, it's flat. We live on that. And Ken Wheeler has made videos verbally. Ken Wheeler
when he was
interviewed
by Globebusters.
When Globers listen to flat Earthers talk about
Ken Wheeler was interviewed by
Globers
Globebusters, he said, "I've never claimed it's a globe in any of my videos."
Let him get it out, Fundy.
Listen to these two flirts spiraling as I share the truth.
You gotta let him get it out.
I'm tired of getting my feet wet and shit. You guys can keep
quoting
dancing in the
Ken
mud.
directly.
You gotta let him get it out. And good job making a distinction without a difference there and trying to like pigeonhole him. Go ahead.
Squeal for me, piggy.
Dude, I don't know what's
It's reached this level, huh? It's really reached this level. We can see who's taking it to that level.
All right. It's the same individual. So yeah, Fundy, what you were saying is earlier is what I remember. He was on Globebusters and pretty much said it's flat. Did he not? Like on that show, from what I remember?
No, I mean flat. There's nothing
not so
he's
straightforwardly.
very hyper specific. And I don't mean to interrupt you, Fundy.
He said it was
flat.
Wait, no, he didn't use the word
to be
flat.
hyper
No, sorry.
to be hyper
Sorry.
specific to be hyper specific. Ken said, in none of my videos have I ever claimed the Earth to be a globe, and that life can only live within a plane of inertia.
Okay,
and
so
then, he gave a hand gesture.
It may have been
hold on. He gave a hand gesture emulating what that geometry looks like, referring to the plane of inertia, and he hyper focused the word plane being like this, and he made his hand flat like you would see, a flat earther make. But I mean, the guy is very hyper specific when he defines things, right? Which is why people want to like try to make him out to be word salad. But all the words that he uses are 100% accurate and applicable, and demonstrably accurate to the point where you can look them all up. It's not like some term that was just coined yesterday. Like, these are all very well understood terms that he uses. And the point, to be specific, is that nothing in this universe is flat, as he often points out. Everything is curved linear to the mass and extrapolates out this S curve, which is a cross section of the magnetic field. But there is a plane of inertia that cuts through that field 90 degrees perpendicular to the magnetic flux lines. And this plane of inertia is straight and flat, and life emerges at that point, which is not a spherical surface. I'm done. Sorry to be so long. Just had to be specific.
Yeah, I got you. So I was just waiting because I just wanted to say, yeah, I don't remember him saying it's flat, so I was just using that in a generalized way. But I just remember when he was on Globebusters and they were asking him about it and kind of drilling him a bit. It may have been closer to what Fundy said. That he said it's not a globe and that everything exists on a plane.
He didn't say that. He didn't say it isn't a globe because, like Dieslow said, he's careful about his word choice. And, I'm not trying to dog on the guy, but he plays both sides and he's careful. And maybe that's his strategy, right? But he kind of plays both sides in order to please everyone in certain ways, or maybe he's just being careful. But what he said specifically
he does this with a lot of things, though, Funny. This isn't just the shape of the Earth.
He said, I've never claimed the Earth is a globe in any of my videos. You see how that it's ambiguous.
So it naturally makes sense. Only flat earthers listen to Ken Wheeler and think that he's supporting flat Earth. Every other person, when they listen to the words of the guy, literally on his videos and on his live streams, talking about, quote, these flat earthers and the idea of flat Earth.
He does the same thing to the electric universe guys, bro. Like, you're not understanding, dude. Like when somebody doesn't have the full complete package, dude, and they're focusing on one specific thing and claiming that to be the fundamental answer to what it is we're talking about, he scoffs at that shit when they don't got it together. And the
Naturally, you
electric
think
Also-
universe guys don't have it
Also,
together. The Earth, by my own admission, isn't flat. Nothing is flat. Even like if you had a piece of glass which seems to be flat, you zoom in on it far enough, you're gonna
it's
see
preaching hour.
peaks, troughs. You're going to see peaks, troughs, and valleys across the surface of that math, indicating topography, right? But to say the Earth is a globe, I am far from believing that. The Earth
Yeah,
is not
Ken
a
Wheeler's
globe.
not a flat earther.
Overall,
He laughs
overall,
at
it's
flat
flat.
earthers.
Overall,
He
it's
actually speaks
flat.
in
Shut
disdain
up,
regarding
dude.
flat earthers.
We listen to you,
He
Well,
speaks
bitch. Now shut
negatively
up.
of flat Earth.
we all
He's
know
not a
his
Yeah.
opinion
conspiracy
does
theorist.
his
And it's
opinion
people
his
like
opinion
you.
does
It's
not
people like you that
determine
He's
the shape
probably
of the
got
world.
300,000 plus followers. Only a small fraction of them are flat earthers. And regardless of how much Dieslow believes, this is not the case. But
You're really sidetracking
yeah,
here.
I know.
Ken
I
Wheeler's
know.
opinion on the shape of the Earth determines nothing of the
Yeah.
Yeah,
sort.
and then goes his last point 'cause he said that only flat earthers listen to Ken Wheeler when he just says just a fraction of his. So you totally contradict yourself.
I know. I have
You're
understanding.
amazing. Yeah.
I'm in a flat Earth room.
Let me
We've
ask
got
you this,
flat Earth
Gatebreaker.
extremists that
What are we doing here, man?
misunderstand what Ken Wheeler says because they think it aids in their argument of a lack of a model, no proof, no nothing. And the one thing that this outspoken person who verbally is outspoken against flat Earth, you guys in the flat Earth room, we've got flat Earthers who are saying that this is what Ken Wheeler's saying. I mean,
Has
naturally.
anyone ever said in this room that the Earth is flat because
Ask
Ken
your
Wheeler
peers,
says
bud.
so?
Ask your peers, bud.
Well, I've been here long enough, and I know that no one has ever made the argument the Earth is flat
Been here
because
many
Ken Wheeler
years.
thinks it's
Nobody's
flat.
ever said this.
I know.
These are all wild
It
accusations,
sounds
dude.
like believe. I'm
no one's ever
I'm
said
not
the Earth
not
is flat
pushing
because
back
Ken
from you
Wheeler
guys'
said so.
delusion. I give you the
So
freedom to interpret.
You're the only
this.
one delusional here.
Yeah.
You're
You've said
attacking
very little
straw man,
facts
man.
here.
Keep over speaking me. Keep spiraling.
Very little facts. All feelings.
99% of
It's very
humanity
clear
is
who's
also
spiraling,
hearing.
dude.
Only the
Very clear
biased
who's spiraling.
1%, the flat earthers who are desperate to cling onto their belief system, to cling onto the ego that this belief system has given them. Only you guys
You're right.
interpret it this way.
Grand
You're right.
scanning,
You're not
Eli,
spiraling at all. You're not spiraling at all. We're the ones spiraling.
sad.
You're calm and composed. You're absolutely right. We're spiraling.
It
You're
reminds me of
composed.
the Wicked Witch of the West when she starts melting and just like, squirming and just I'm melting. It's
I
like,
mean,
bro, relax, dude. It's gonna be okay, dude. We'll get through this.
yeah, everybody has their own personal views on various topics in life, and you can agree with one thing that someone says and then not agree with another. You don't have to take the whole person. And just because there's certain like people that have kind of like I say this in a kind way, but like a cult of personality. Like some people just have charisma, they have information, whatever it may be. Ken Wheeler does his channel. He obviously has a good amount of subscribers. People like his work. Some people critique his work. He's a public figure and so on. And yeah, he's talking about a lot of interesting topics. A lot of them overlap with a planar stationary Earth cosmology. So that's interesting in and of itself. It doesn't mean that people have to use him for that or vice versa, or that he has to agree with, cosmology with someone else, etc. So it's all good. Everyone just has their viewpoint information, and we all try to put it together the best we can. And go ahead.
Welcome to America.
But Dieslow is literally, I interpret, so let me know if Dieslow is literally claiming Ken Wheeler is a closeted flat earther. He's saying, oh, actually, Ken Wheeler knows this truth. He's a flat earther. I'm saying that's literally incorrect. That's not true.
That's
We were talking about electricity. And for you to
Hey, Fundy, stop.
For you to begin,
no, you weren't addressed.
For you to begin your statement with Dieslow, I got complaints about Dazza. That's literally an ad. That's literally an ad hom. By definition.
You're just
Got my feet
interrupting,
in
dude.
shit right
I've been
now being in
dealing
here.
I've been dealing with 5 Glovers at once, but
Listen to
this guy
these
gets
guys.
one other guy interacting, he whines.
All right, you guys, we have to Gatebreaker specifically. Please don't just open your mic and scream like that, dude. You made a comment. Let someone respond. We have to keep a cohesive conversation. So, what was I going to say? When Ken Wheeler was on Globebusters, he was very like flat Earth friendly, at least on there. Like it seemed like there was a lot of like camaraderie. Like he wasn't saying like, no, it's not flat. You guys are crazy. There is that. I do understand on his channel that he does seem to kind of like make comments negatively about flat earthers, quote unquote. I've always wondered, and we've talked about it, like, is it because he's kind of trying to like not lose some of his subscriber base because he knows that flat earth is very controversial? What Dieslow's saying, if Dieslow thinks he might actually think it's flat, I mean, that's a, is that what
Well,
you're saying,
that's
Dieslow?
what
I
I'm.
mean,
I don't know if you guys hear what I said, but like, there's nothing that is perfectly flat. Everything has topography to it. Now, if we're talking about the overall um, aspect as to the nature of the surface of our reality, he thinks that it resides on the plane of inertia. And if you look at the geometry of that, it's a straight line. It's not spherical. It's not curved. It's a straight line that cuts through the toroid. So I don't know where you guys keep wanting to say that, you know, the Earth's flat, right? Because it's a misnomer. The Earth has topography. It's got mountains, it's got valleys, it's got dips, right? It's got some convexity, some concavity along the surface, but overall is what we're speaking about. It's the overall nature to it, which is planar. And you want to call that flat, sure, but to be hyper specific, there's nothing that's flat. Only hypothetically, some sort of a graphene wafers or something that they theorize, could be the closest thing to what we'd consider a flat substance. So when you
yeah.
want to like try to pigeonhole Ken into saying the Earth's
Calling him a
flat
flat
when it's
earther,
not,
a closeted
when it's
secret
not,
flat
he's
earther.
not. Okay, listen, I mean, you want to make the distinction without a difference and try to like pigeonhole something to fit your narrative, and that's just incredulous,
Like
bud.
calling him a closeted flat earther when he's not.
Right,
You're one video away from him setting the record straight to just being corrected.
He's never going to go back on the words that he's publicly displayed on not only Santos Bonacci's videos, but Ken Nodell's videos or Glowbusters, where he verbally said, "I've never once alluded out of my 8,000
We
videos
got some
to the
flat Earth
Earth
conspiracy
being
theory
a
energy
globe."
in here
And
now.
here this guy goes, just I don't know, Gio. I don't know what you want to do about this kid,
What?
but he's obviously on something and can't control himself. And then just because I'm talking, now I'm being associated with the chaos. It's insane, dude. I don't want to be associated with the chaos. Just deal with
Don't worry,
him.
he's been muted. He's been given so many time warnings, so we could just focus on something else or on the same topic without the interruptions.
Yeah, no, it's tough. We want to let everyone speak, but when he's just constantly screaming, and then and then he'll be upset that he's muted. But yeah, it's obnoxious.
Ban him for life. Be a man.
Daiso, I was just gonna say, I mean, I often say, like, I don't refer to myself as a flat earther. First of all, like, I don't feel like I need to call myself unearther. Like, the distinction of it being a globe was something that was put onto us in the first place. So I'm just on Earth. I don't feel like I need to like label myself as an earther of some sort, just because the globe had put their idea out there. But even outside of that, the term flat Earth, to me, it's not really nuanced enough of a term in terms of cosmology. It's not very descriptive. In a lot of ways, it's not like a very technical term either. So I think there's issues with it, but we all have used that term as well in various ways. But the thing with the Ken Wheeler part, see, Daiso, like the other complications with the word flat is that like it has many different definitions. So one of the definitions is having a continuous horizontal surface. So like flat can actually mean like a horizontal orientation. So you could still have elevation changes, but it is overall it's a horizontal surface. If you were to go up at a very high altitude, for example, or something. So that's the thing. But then there's other definitions of flat which refer to like having, no variation, like the peaks and depressions are like a horizontal line, for example, which is a slightly different.
That's a hypothetical. It's never going to show me something that's perfectly flat, not having any peaks, valleys, or troughs to it across the axis of the surface. It's just impossible unless you're going to appeal to some sort of like hypothetical, sure. But when we speak of things being flat overall, that's spoken in terms of being planar in nature, right? Like a
Flat on your
plane,
back.
so to speak. Right. But to say something is perfectly flat is it's just not the case, man. Like we all know there's topography across the surface.
Yeah, but
It
again,
should
that's only
never
one
have to be
definition.
mentioned.
But that's only one type of definition of flat. Like, you know, like an EEG, like a heart monitor, when it goes it flat lines, you know, it's like an actual, like where it, in theory would have no peaks or depressions. Now, if you zoomed into the TV monitor where that is, you're going to see peaks and depressions. So obviously that's a
There's
factor
a
of scale.
concept.
Yeah, it's a factor of
Right,
scale, but also the word flat refers to like a horizontal, like horizontally level is technically part of the definite is one of the definitions of flat as well. So I'm just saying the word flat has a lot of different nuances to it, but I hear the one you're saying. But I mean, the thing is with Ken Wheeler though, would he say, okay, the Earth is a topographical plane or a topographical plane of inertia? Like, would he use
he
those terms?
says
I mean,
Very good.
he says life resides at the plane of inertia, and I mean I think that's fair to the topic as he wants to get with keeping himself disassociated with any sort of label or grouping. I mean, he's already stated publicly that if any group were to accept him, like he would refuse like to be accepted with any group. I mean, he kind of stands on his own. He considers himself to be a Neoplatonic, Platonistic ether field theorist or something along those lines. Like nothing in that state's flat or geocentric, or you know, like any of these things pertaining towards like the overall nature as to like Earth more than the cosmos at large. If you want to ask him like to get hyper specific on the true nature of
Wake up,
shape
bro.
of Earth,
Wake up.
like I mean, he's said like yeah, like ask the flat earthers if we fall off the edge. You know, like he's made little claims like that because again, like we get people that come in here that he probably doesn't want to be associated with, rightfully so. But no, he doesn't. He's never once said it's a globe. He's never once said the Earth's a ball or a globe or a, you know. And if he does, it's only for colloquial communication to get the point across, you know, of what he's trying to talk about. You know, like I was watching a video of him today. He was drawing the Earth in a circle shape next to the sun and talking about, you know, the mass one and mass two and blah blah blah. You know, like he shouldn't have to jump through every little nuance of what he fundamentally believes to get his points across. Like he's trying to simplify his understandings to get points across and not overcomplicating it by challenging other worldviews and stuff to focus on one specific thing, if that makes any sense.
It's also
And to answer your first question, yes, I think he would demonetize himself if he were to start coming out sounding like some crazy whack job conspiracist. Like it would, he's probably worried about this. You know, he's challenged enough with, you know, going against relativity and quantum. I mean, does he need to battle every front like
Same thing.
simultaneously to get his point across? Probably not.
No one.
Yeah, great point. I think this even happened to Kent Oven. He felt like maybe that's just a bridge too far, and if he goes to flat Earth, it's just going to be too much for everybody. And maybe other scientists like James Tour, when people were asking him, "What are your thoughts on cosmology?" and he just didn't want to. He said he doesn't have time to look into it. So kind of makes sense. But you know, if he accepts that, that would even just imagine how that would be the tipping point for maybe some of these people.
No one's opinion in this room rests on globe versus flat, rests upon Ken Wheeler saying he believes it's flat or globe. Are we talking to Ken Wheeler? Is Ken Wheeler in the room?
I kind of wanted to
Go
ask
ahead.
some of the Globers this, right? Like, is
No. Keep the energy going. Don't parasite off the Globers. Keep going with what you guys are doing. You're boring us thus
dude,
far.
who fucking took his ass off fucking mute? I wanted to ask some of the
This is
Globers
not
this,
your
dude.
room.
Is oh my god, dude, this guy is something else. Is the Big Bang and relativity mutually exclusive? I wanted to. Can anybody answer that?
Mutually exclusive to confusion, yeah.
What was that?
That's a good question.
Because I mean, if we're refuting relativity with the ether understanding, and relativity supports Big Bang and vice versa, And that has to do with the, true nature and shape is the Earth, right? And you got a guy who's refuting gravity. I mean, all of these things are like reliant upon one another to build this sort of like framework to support the globe. And if you got somebody challenging that, right, then he would have to give reason as to why, the Earth would maintain this spherical consistency if not gravity. And he doesn't. He talks about the plane of inertia. He doesn't talk about spherical Earth. So, anyways, go ahead. I think if he were to pick a shape and that wasn't planar in nature, it would be an egg, if anything, because that seems to be the geometry of the magnetic field is this egg shape.
Of which magnetic field?
You were to take like an N35 neodymium Gauss magnet, put it in a jar, fill the jar up with water, and freeze it. The geometry left behind is a perfect egg shape that you can see within that frozen ice cube. That's the geometry of the magnetic field coming from that, being affected by that magnet.
What shape is the magnet? What are its dimensions?
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it
all
could
know
be
a horseshoe
cylindrical, it could be
magnet's gonna
cubed.
be different.
Because the
Yeah, I
magnetic
mean,
field shape is a function of the shape of the magnet to some extent, right? The
well,
magnetic.
the field that emits from a magnet is ab extra to the magnet itself. Yes, if you had a ring magnet versus a cubed magnet, like the geometry is going to be different perceptually because you're getting different view cross sections of it. But ultimately, magnetic field is toroidal. Fundamentally, it's a three-dimensional force vector which extrapolates out a vortex, two vortexes, which is toroid.
And what do you
There's
mean by
definitely
this?
there's definitely an
Like that.
average that you can suss out and then treat as if there was a single point of magnetism, what would be that perfect thing uninfluenced by the body of the magnet being in whatever shape. You can definitely suss that out. And like Dice was saying, it'd be egg shaped because the North and South Pole have different potencies or different ranges or different geometries, the way the North and South are associated with the field. They're not equals, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but the North and South are not. It's always consistently different.
Yeah,
Not
there's even
equal.
more stars in the south.
It's 1 to 5. At the north to south,
Yep.
there's a field disparity of a ratio between the north and south at 1 to 5.
Interesting. And according to Yale Bright Star catalog, there's more stars in the south. Of the 9,000 plus that they've counted of the bright stars, I think 51% are in the south, approximately.
Yeah, I mean this gets really deep into like incommensurability and like all these other topics, which I mean he seems to think he could essentially create a anti-gravity device using this methodology. In fact, that he's got one prototype in hand. The same device that has no moving parts that generates a small amount of output with no input has like an anti-gravitic effect to it as you accelerate it toward.
Thomson had a similar idea. Dieslow, you might have cut out.
I had a phone call, sorry. I forgot even what I was saying. Something about anti-gravity.
Yeah, pretty
Right?
sure Thomson proposed something like that in relation to. I think he was building it off of the virtual ground. I think he proposed that you could nullify inertial effects by doing a virtual ground, and you could have things like, well, whatever you want to call the effect that people like to call virtual anti-gravity or whatever. Dollard commented on it on in one of his lectures.
Yeah, he talks about this certain geometry, which would be like the lower section of the egg. Like if you were to draw it out and you were to cut out like the bottom section of the egg, which would be like the whiter base. That specific geometry has some sort of like is like a key component in this like device for some reason. And he goes on about it, but then he goes on about bismuth and how he essentially created, you know, a piece of bismuth with that geometry, and you can feel it like when you hold it, how it almost has like a weightless sort of feeling to it on its own when you accelerate it down, and it's analogous to taking two magnets where they're repelling one another, and you get that kind of like sensation of like a cushion in between the two. He said it feels like that as you accelerate it down, like it's resisting the inertia.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of what maybe is happening in the nuclear facility when they get these sort of materials put together. It generates this massive amount of heat.
I think
the
you're
control
talking
points.
about Chernikov radiation.
Right. So if you can, like, when you get these magnets and you combine them in certain ways, you might get these interesting effects. And I think that happens with these maybe enriched rocks as well.
Yeah, they get these crazy flashes of light, these blue flashes known as Chernikov radiation, which is like, I don't know, superluminal velocity essentially. It's like really crazy speeds. Might even be the fastest recordable speed of luminosity.
Interesting.
Yeah, look into it.
A couple of minutes ago, you made a comment about the magnetic field not being symmetrical. Have you got a reference for that? It's not something I've seen before.
Yeah. Are you talking about the egg-shaped nature to magnetism?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a video I can share.
No, I don't want a video. I want a reference.
If you're looking for a peer-reviewed citation, that's the problem. Is science has never defined magnetism, or I mean, any of these things
It's probably
that
not a
you take
real
for granted.
thing. Right?
It's 100% a real thing. It's something that you can do on your own. It's something that doesn't require you to hold on to the coattails of your professor to claim existence to. You could test it yourself.
Yeah,
Very
maybe this is
simple.
in the days of Michael Faraday when he was examining, these field lines outside of electrically charged wires. People probably, thought it didn't exist, but he had to show them, and look at him, how he changed, I guess, the future or the trajectory of electricity. They call him the grandfather of the electric motor, Michael Faraday. And he wasn't in the institutions. He was never formally trained. He was outside of the institutions.
Yeah, he's just tinkering with shit. But yeah, I mean, this is observable. I mean, it's not a lot of money to buy a magnet and test this out for yourself. So
Yeah, I'm just surprised that it's not well known if it's a easily determinable fact, right? Because the properties of the magnetic field are critically important in anything that relies on magnetic field, and to
it's big.
ignore some obvious oblateness would be
Let me give you an
very
example. you know that like biological systems, for example, rely heavily off the magnetic field? Did you know that you can influence a biological system depending on the exposure to the magnetic field, depending on what side, be it north or south facing? If I were to show you, or you show yourself, that you can actually germinate a seed quicker with exposure to the magnetic field, would you believe me, or would you try it?
I'd be skeptical, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, there's a university study done by Rolls and Davis on the topic, and they talked about it, and they proved it. But I mean, just because like you've never heard about it doesn't mean it's like not a thing. I guess is the what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, yeah. And just because you've quoted it doesn't mean it's a thing either, right? Because we both have to have a balanced view on what is actually correct.
Yeah, I mean, go look into it. I mean, just
Yeah, I
because you
will.
never heard about it and I'm
Get
bringing it to your
get
attention
yourself a
doesn't mean
magnet.
that it doesn't exist, but definitely don't take my word for it. Do your own research, look into it. You can type in Rawls and Davis on Google. I think they've got about a total of 4 books together. And they're probably one of the very few people in the history of science that talk about magnetic field exposure on biological entities.
So that impact southern and northern hemisphere plant growth, wouldn't it? Because the
Yeah.
magnetic
Oh,
field
yeah.
here is coming out of the ground and it's going into the ground largely at the other end of the world.
Has huge effects on living substances. Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to ask you was about Steinmetz. So what specifically did he do or say that is not common knowledge in electrical field theory these days?
Oh, well, like one of the main things is the understanding of dielectrics.
He discovered
Apparently,
that. But that's something every engineer learns in second or third year, right? They learn about
no,
dielectrics and electric fields and the whole naive model of electric current and things like that gets chucked out the
no,
window, basically.
no. You're taught about dielectric in terms of insulators, but they're speaking in terms of dielectrics in terms of like electrostatics with like
Yeah,
capacitors and
it's the same
dielectric
thing, right?
reflectors. No, it's not. They're speaking about the dielectric as this one fundamental primary field, where modern science is speaking of it just in regards to like an insulator specifically. Two
No.
completely different frameworks here.
So you're I guess you're a little bit confused with this. So when we talk about the dielectric in a capacitor, yeah, you're right, it is the insulating material, but its properties are exactly what Steinmetz talks about. It's the ratios of charges and energy storage in the electric field, in the dielectric field, right? And the field properties are determined by the distances plus the properties of the material in between. So the concept of dielectric is well known to all electrical engineers in the context that Steinmetz discussed it.
So
basically,
no, that's not true.
Steinmetz stuff
I mean,
is a common part of the curriculum and has been for decades.
What? Starbird?
Starmer.
I don't know what you're saying, but anyways, define dielectric.
You're genius.
Define dielectric, Dazza.
Define dielectric.
Yeah.
Dielectric would be how would we say it? It's essentially the field, right? The fields between.
What's a field?
It is
field of what?
Force. So a field typically results in a force of some kind, right? So the dielectric field is the force field that a charge would be experiencing in that field.
You're telling me this is what you learned in school?
I did it 30 years ago, mate. I haven't spoken about it since then, basically. So the terminology is rough, but the concept
that's not accurate, bro. Forces are not things. Forces are actions done. Fields are things.
Yeah, field. Yeah,
Fields are
field.
things. Fields do exist, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
They
area of effect.
they
Yes.
absolutely exist, right? And science defines the field currently, right, through a description talking about a point of measurable energy within a certain proximity. But that's not a definement as to what the field is. That's just a
Sure it is.
description.
No,
Just a vague.
that
That's a
is no.
vague
The field is
description,
defined by a measurable quantity of something at each point. That
right? But we're,
quantity
we're
could
what we're
be a
asking, what is this something? What's the
well. It
something?
depends on what kind of field you're talking about, right? It could be a magnetic
There's only
field.
one. We're talking about the dielectric, the one fundamental field that Dazza is insinuating is well understood and applied today, which is incorrect.
Because Ken Wheeler told you this, or what?
Because that's just what science is perceiving it
No,
as. They perceive it
because
as an
Dieslow has it
insulator.
wrong. That's why. That's
They
what it is.
they,
It
they don't
refers
talk
to the
about
electric field
they,
that exists
nowhere
within
nowhere in
or
current
passes
science
through
talks
an
about
insulating
dielectricity.
material.
Yes, they perceive it as an insulator. They don't perceive it as a primary field.
No, that's incorrect. That anybody that's done
Cite it.
electrical engineering will understand
Cite it.
Steinmetz's work perfectly, right? It's what they learn.
I don't
It's how
deny
they
that.
understand, right?
Yeah, I don't deny that they wouldn't discredit Steinmetz's work. What I'm trying to tell you, right, is most of them never even heard of Steinmetz to begin with, let alone what he said pertaining to dielectrics. And what
Maybe
you
not.
think you thought you heard is something that I would challenge you to cite, and I think you'd be hard pressed to show me
What
where
makes
you
you
learned
think
this.
nobody's heard of this?
Show me, cite it.
Cite what?
Cite Steinmetz's understanding on dielectrics within modern electrical field
I
engineering.
don't know what you think his
Cite it.
understanding is, but I can tell you
Cite
that
it.
it's a common part of electrical engineering curriculums.
Yeah.
Cite it.
The electric field E is the dielectric field that Steinmetz described. E, the electric field. It is exactly as he discussed it. And it's the direct analog of inductance, right? Or magnetism.
Yeah, you have to have magnetism times the dielectric, which equals electricity, which he broke down in his equation as phi times psi equals Q in Planck of electrification. But what I'm asking from you is show me where in modern electrical field engineering they use the term dielectricity in the way Steinmetz used it. If you can show me that, if you can show me that, then I'll be in agreement with you. But until then, both of you are talking out of your ass.
They would call it E, the electric field, not the dielectric field.
Hey, you didn't hear anything I said. You didn't hear anything I said, did you? The electric field is not a thing of itself. It's comprised of two components to create it. These two fields mutually antagonizing one another, creating inductance, creates the electric field, which tells you that the electric field is not solely a thing of itself. It has a magnetic component involved and a dielectric component. But you're not going to find that in any modern field engineering book like you claim. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think the words might be different, but the concept will be identical.
No. And you're thinking, you guys are assuming. Omni does this a lot. Omni assumes a lot too, but unfortunately, no. You're not going to find that. Dielectrics modernly is referred to as an insulator, which is far from a primary field supporting the existence of the electric field. Two completely different things, bud.
So when we talk about the dielectric, this is where the terminology is different. So the dielectric is the material in the electric field, right?
What material?
That's the modern description.
The modern description of dielectric is referred to a clear medium, like a gas, liquid. Often, in a transformer, it's going to be the mineral oil. This is essentially the capacitor. But this is again, this is far from the understanding of the primary field, the background field that's spoken of in terms of electric field theory via a la Charles Porte Steinmetz. So no, that's not true. If you look at the Leyden jar experiment, the storage of energy is within the medium, not the conductor itself. This is well observed and already disproven. anyone claiming they know anything about electrical engineering should already fucking have this established.
Well observed. Show me. Well observed where?
Leyden jar experiment. Look it up.
Yeah. No, so
Now show it,
Dieslow,
Nate. Show it,
you're
dude.
right. The common knowledge in electrical engineering is that the energy is not in the conductor, it is in the fields, right? The energy is transmitted in
Oh,
the
you heard that
fields.
left lane? Say it again for him. He can't
It
hear
is
you. He's
in,
too busy.
and in the case of a capacitor, it is stored in the field. And the modern terminology that people use when they describe a capacitor, and if you're doing analysis on it, the electric field is where the energy is stored. And the common lay term for the material through which the electric field passes is the dielectric. But that is, which is in contradiction, that clashes with what Steinman said. But the concept is the same, that the electric field and the material within the field is where the energy is stored. The material impacts the electric field, or the ability to create it, basically. And but the concept is identical. Just the term dielectric is not used the same way as Steinman's did, but the physics that he described is used every day.
Yeah. So modernly, you've got dielectric refractors, like shiny metals generally, and you've got dielectric capacitors, which would be like a clear medium, but generally it's referred to as an insulator. But
yeah. So you need when you're physically constructing a capacitor, you need a medium to insulate the two plates. Otherwise, you are unable to create the field, because the minute you create too much energy, if you don't have an insulating barrier between both halves of the field generation, you'll get conduction, right? It'll break down and you'll get electrical flow. So that's the modern term of dielectric, is the insulator in between. But the electric field, E, is what is described when you're talking about field strengths and things like that. And it's exactly.
And intuitively, you would think, the stronger the field, the bigger the field, but it's actually inverse to that. The stronger the field, a la the capacitance, the higher the capacitance, the smaller the field, i.e. the spatial footprint left behind, the measurable spatial footprint left behind, which is why when we get towards the different ends of spectrum of light, we see a huge difference between, the magnitudes of intensity, from red end to the blue end spectrum of light. When we start getting beyond the blue end spectrum towards gamma radiation, many magnitudes, beyond, we start seeing matter acting like a quasi particle, where it's.
I don't think that's anything to do with capacitance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does. This is what Hertz explained within his photoelectric effect. Specifically, he talked about the smaller the spatial volume, the higher the capacitance, and when you get into the bluer end spectrum of light, you have a smaller spatial footprint and a higher capacitance versus the red end spectrum. Yeah. This is why you could take a red versus a blue LED and shine it at a Crookes radiometer, and one does something and the other doesn't. The blue one will spin it up where the red won't.
Yeah, once again, that's not a capacitance thing, that's an energy.
Okay, well, again, we're looking at capacitance from a different terminology. I'm defining capacitance as Charles Proteus-Steinmetz did, not how you're perceiving it.
Why do you think the blue LED causes the radiometer to spin? I'm curious.
I got a good video on that. I could share it with you.
Can you sum it up, or do we have to watch the video?
I mean, if you really want me to.
I'm just curious I'm curious why you think that is the case, because you said a bunch of stuff about dielectrics and stuff like that, and that's not how I understand it to work at all. So I'm curious how you understand that example you gave to work.
With the Crookes radiometer?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. So Hertz discovered in the photoelectric effect that the red and blue end spectrum of light is different within its volume, and that the blue end spectrum has a higher capacitance. He's essentially talking about an atomic capacitance, right, at the atomic scale, which is created when the
What?
threshold frequency
Wait,
of
you're
light.
okay. So you've already gone. What is an atomic capacitance?
He's talking about capacitance on a very small scale. We're dealing with light, right?
Yeah, we are dealing with light.
Okay, so we're talking about capacitance on like an atomic scale, which is created when the threshold frequency of light is used to create a charge disparity between the electrode and the interatomic magnetodielectric permeability,
So
which is
how does
breached.
that turn? How does that translate into turning the Crookes radiometer?
So essentially, what he's saying is that the blue end spectrum has a higher dielectric component to it, which is, you know, the current versus the magnetic component being more like, you know,
So
the
wait, we're talking about
amperage. So it's like,
photons. Okay,
well,
so
a photon has an electric component to it,
so if I
even in your
have a
model.
magnet, if I have a magnet next to the Crookes radiometer, can I deflect the photon or absorb, attract the photon to the magnet?
Are you asking if light
Yeah.
is affected by magnetism?
I'm asking,
Yes.
if I can use magnets to guide light around.
You can affect light with magnetism.
I can affect the
There's a video on that.
polarization of light in some cases, but what about just
No, you can affect the pathway of light
okay with
indirectly.
normal magnets?
Indirectly.
So how do
Yeah,
I?
caveat indirectly. I know you want to hyper focus on something that
Well,
sounds foolish.
I don't want to hyper focus. I think so. If I think you might be talking some bullshit, do I get to ask questions about that?
Well, I'm specifying with hyper specificity that you're dancing beyond
So when
and trying to straw man me.
when I shine the red light into the Crookes radiometer, what does or doesn't it do that doesn't move the Crookes radiometer?
Okay. Well, like I told you, there's a difference between the red versus blue end spectrum being the volume of the field footprint of that emission, as you like to refer to it as.
I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure what atomic.
Maybe he doesn't understand your question. I don't know.
So I shine a red light into the Crookes radiometer. There is something flowing from the LED, red light, through the glass of the radiometer.
That's how your model perceives it. But
What?
yeah, light's not an emission. And light doesn't have a speed. It's not a particle. It's not a wave. It's not a particle wave
So
duality. So you're
yeah,
setting up a field disparity, is what you're setting up, and that field disparity has a rate of induction.
So
And that rate of induction has an influence, and that influence, right, is significantly different from the red versus the blue.
So what is being induced? What's happening in the Crookes radiometer? Are the photons hitting it and bouncing off it and pushing it?
The difference is within the field coherency between the red end versus blue end spectrum. The blue end spectrum, right, is more coherent than the red end being incoherent. So the intensity of the
I think they're
effect
the
is
same
different.
level of coherence. I don't think one's more or less coherent.
No, that's not true.
So what's the definition of coherent light here then?
It has to do with the spatial footprint of the field, right?
So
and
is a
coherent.
laser
Just to be clear, though, it's not the photon pressure that's moving the Crookes radiometer. In case that's
correct?
what you're
Yeah, I know that. I don't know if I can't tell if he knows that.
You think I believe in photons? I just told you that light is not a photon.
I know you don't believe in photons. I'm asking you to explain what you think is happening in like normal language. So when you talk about
Yeah,
coherent,
I'm talking about coherency, and you're
so
interrupting
when we
me,
talk
and
about light being coherent,
I'm
what does
trying
that
I'm
mean
trying
to you?
I'm trying to explain, but you're just too busy just asking question after question instead of listening. You gotta listen more than you talk. You got two ears. Okay, so when I talk about coherent versus incoherent, and something having coherency versus not, right? In terms of light, I can analogize this with the example of a laser versus a light bulb. Now you have a laser which is representing coherent light. Then you have the light bulb which is incoherent light. You've got one being 5 watts and the other being 5 watts. One is very powerful and can burn a hole through you, and the other you can barely read a book next to. What's the difference? The difference is the field geometry that's taking place. As we all know, that laser has a very focused beam,
How is
right?
it focused?
Where a
What does
light
focused
bulb,
mean?
where a light bulb is scattering in all directions, the laser has a very focused point to it where everything seems to be parallel. It's all moving in one
So
specific vector
wait,
where
whoa.
everything's being scattered all
All right,
directions
I
in the
gotta
light
ask some
bulb.
I have questions. All right. If you're just gonna talk indefinitely, I don't think you've gotta I don't think that's you giving an explanation. I think it's just waffling to avoid having to. So when I have a magnifying glass and I use it with the sun rays to burn a hole in a piece of paper, is that making the light coherent?
Correct.
Yes.
When you have a magnifying glass, yes, you're in a convex magnifying glass. You're focusing the point of light, to a precise condensed, area, so that spatial footprint is very small, and
So
the capacity of that spatial footprint increases proportionally,
so
right?
I don't
To
agree.
the Yeah, it's all proportional.
I don't agree with
And
your definition of coherence. I think you're talking about focus rather than coherence.
No, you
no,
need to. He very specifically defined those two terms in terms of light, and he did it perfectly. And then you're saying that he's waffling.
Yes, because when you focus, so a laser is coherent. That is
Yes.
different from light coming through a magnifying glass, being focused to a point. Those are
you can
two
create
different
you can
things.
you can create a pseudo laser, as Dennis Gabbard did prior to the creation of the modern laser, where he took a mercury arc lamp and passed the light through a pinhole aperture and a light filter, and created coherent light known as the pseudo laser. Now you
So
want to deny that, and you think you're
I
smarter
don't
than
know.
everybody,
I
that's
don't
on
know
you,
what.
bud.
Okay, well, I'll wait. Go ahead and finish. But I
I
have
mean,
many
you're
questions, and I
denying
don't think
you're denying things that are irrefutable and
I'm not
trying to, like,
denying anything. I'm asking
okay,
you questions, and I'm telling you that your definition of coherence and the laser's definition of coherent, the understanding of coherence from a laser, are two different things. You're talking about focus, and you said that was the same thing as coherence. Those are
No,
not.
the laser is correct. So the part I would disagree though is about the magnifying glass. For the magnifying glass, you're correct. I would say that that's about focusing. But for the
Yes.
laser, he's spot on.
So he's correct about the laser.
it's with
Yes, he's
anything.
wrong about the magnifying glass. Also,
Let me tell you
yes,
this,
he's wrong
man.
about that. So,
Anything,
Anchovy,
real
is it
quick,
true that red light
Omnivore,
is
please
less coherent
stop.
than blue light, which is what he also said?
He won't, he
That's
does
the
this all the
Anchovy.
time. He's
So
got me
just hang on a
blocked.
sec.
Well, I just want to make a distinction here.
He wants to get in on this.
This
Let him do that.
this isn't my fight. I just wanted to correct. It's annoying for the room to have to sit here for you to say that he's waffling when he gave you the exact definitions of what he meant. It's
Yes, and
just
he was wrong about
annoying.
one of the two. Yes, correct. And he's wrong
No, he was
about red
correct
light
about the
versus blue
laser.
light.
He was correct about the laser. You said he was waffling, and then you
No, I
brought up
said
the
he's correct
magnifying
about the
glass.
laser. Okay, so Anchovy, just so that you're clear on what happened. He said the laser is coherent. I agree. He said the light bulb is coherent because it goes in all directions. I was
No, I
like,
said it's incoherent. I said the
right. It's
light bulb is
incoherent because it
incoherent.
goes in all
Incoherent.
directions. Yes, yeah, correct. Because it goes in all directions. I was like, well, he's right. He's right that it goes in all directions, but I don't think that's why it's incoherent. Then I ask him, well, if I focus the light from the sun through a magnifying glass, does that make it coherent? Because that was all about the
It's the
focus.
same thing with
And he
with
said,
like a
yes,
satellite dish or a radio dish, right?
it's not.
You're
It's not.
focusing the signal, right, to a small pinpointed area. It's a
That's
signal to noise
focus.
ratio
That's focus.
that's taking place right now, right? So you're not amplifying anything. You're focusing things. You're creating a field coherency, right? This is known as like a 0 point object, be it a laser, a magnet, a magnifying glass, a satellite dish. These are all examples of taking the signal and focusing it to a smaller spatial volume and increasing the capacitance of whatever it may be. And you want to refute this, even though, I mean, every example, illustrates to a T what's being said here. So good luck with that.
So, just for anchovies, just for anchovy, the reason why I said he was waffling was because he was describing two things as coherent, one of which I agree is coherent, one of which I do not think is coherent. And going between the two of
Which
them,
is what, the magnifying glass?
yes, yes, correct.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think from, which is he's talking about the beam of light itself rather than the origin source of the light.
Is the beam of light from a magnifying glass coherent?
I mean, me personally, I would say no.
It,
'Cause, I mean,
it's
if
it's
it's talking about
It
spatially
the
is
source
not.
coherent.
it's coming
Do you
from,
understand? Do you understand the
So,
difference between spatial coherence, omnivore, and coherence itself? Do you not get that? Do you know that starlight, omnivore, is spatially coherent? Do you not know that, omnivore? Because you can Google this information. It's very well known, omnivore. I'm
what is
sorry
that?
you didn't understand this, and you want to pigeonhole me into some ridiculous, absurd position that's seemingly not true, like you always do with your assumptions. But
So
I'm here to educate you, and I can drop the links if you would like, omnivore.
I don't really need the links. The question is not about what kind of links you got. The question is you are attempting to school a electrical engineer on how electrical engineering works.
Did I
And
not specify on spatial coherence, the spatial footprint of the field, right? Like you
you
want to try to pigeonhole me into some
I don't know
niche little
what you mean
nuance.
by the spatial foot. I don't think those words have any meaning.
Okay, why don't you Google it? Is starlight coherent?
Starlight is not coherent.
I knew you would say that, which is why you should probably Google it and make the distinction of spatial coherence versus coherency.
Okay.
So
So
why don't you go do that?
raise
Or do I need
points.
to do it for you? Do I need to spoon feed you?
You don't need to spoon feed me. You just need to actually be able to describe the stuff you're talking about. So tell me about spatial coherence versus temporal incoherence. Go ahead. No? Okay. So the reason
Oh, I was
why
on mute the whole time.
oh well
I'm sorry.
it was a stunning reply, I can tell you. The reason why
Oh,
lasers
it
are
was fucking an
coherent,
awesome reply.
the reason why lasers are coherent is because all of the rays, all of the wavelengths.
Bouncing off a mirror millions of times and being
No,
admitted.
not okay. Well, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, that's what you think, but what you don't understand, Omnivore, is that every single laser that you're going to get your hands on, do you know that there's a convex aperture at the end of that? Why don't you try removing that little plastic piece at the end and tell me how your laser works? If you think it's just a bunch of mirror bounces a million times taking place before it aligns and is emitted, why don't you explain to me why your laser doesn't work without that convex aperture at the end of that laser, buddy.
Isn't that to turn the coherent light into a focused coherent beam?
Oh, geez. But I thought a convex mirror, which creates, you know, a focused beam of light, isn't coherent light. I don't know, Omni. I don't know, Omni. You got to answer that one.
Well, that's why I said earlier, I see the perspective you're coming from, because if you're talking about the beam, you know, Dieslow might be correct here. This isn't, you know, I'm not well learned on this. He sounds like he's read up a lot more on this, but if you're talking about the source, that's a different conversation. But it sounds like what Dieslow's saying is like, it sounds fine to me.
I'm sure it sounds fine. Yes, it sounds fine because it's put together from somebody who's basically made a career out of sounding smart. But
Oh, here we go with
those
the
aren't
insults.
actually how those words are
Can't
used.
address the argument. Can't address the argument, and I'm sure he never even Googled about the coherency of starlight. Made the distinction between spatial coherency versus coherency from his limited understanding. But hopefully he does. Hopefully.
So
Got to educate yourself, bud.
I am educated, and I'm trying
I know
to
you
figure out.
claim that.
So you still haven't explained why the blue light moves a Crookes radiometer. Do you want to try that again? Like what is
Yeah,
actually
I did.
pushing? What is actually pushing? What is actually creating the push?
There's a charge disparity. There's a
So it's like an
significantly higher charge disparity on the blue end versus the red end spectrum of light.
So is it a positive or a negative charge?
There's no there's no such thing as negative charge, dude. Like you guys are funny. You guys are funny.
What is charge?
Oh God. Come on, dude. Do we really need to do this dance?
Well, I think so. I can tell you that my understanding of how a Crookes radiometer works is nothing at all like that. It has nothing to do with charge, because charge is something we can measure. We can measure charge. Charge is a function of electricity